I'm Trina, an Indigenous filmmaker, storyteller, and intuition teacher. I was born and raised in the Treaty 8 territory in Northern Canada in a blended race family. And after many years on my own healing journey, my goal is to inspire you to take a deep look inside of yourself to create a life of love and peace.
And I'm Kaylin. I'm empathic. I have an academic background in supporting neurodiversity in education, and I have a host of super meticulous word nerd skills. My goal here is to use curiosity and empathy to facilitate conscious conversations that inspire you to explore and to ultimately find peace in a deeper sense of self.
Today is episode 3 of People for Peace. This one is very near and dear to my heart. This is a dear friend of mine. Her name is Oline Bridges. She is a birth, grief, and loss and end-of-life full-spectrum doula. She's also a Yoga Alliance certified teacher's trainer and an angel Reiki master. She's an artist, singer, and a super wonderful friend of mine. And even on top of that, she has a binder of certificates. She is trained in so many modalities for healing, including massage, myofascial release, among many, many more. This is a woman who lives to serve. She's going to share her story with you about the processes of being with people through the birth process and through the end of life process and everything in between, and what she really believes what it takes to make the world a better place. And not only that, she has braved up to share her own story with you. She's on a personal journey as she has a terminal diagnosis of her own. With a big, brave, and loving heart, she's going to walk you through what that's like for her and how she sees the world and how we can all make it a better place and find peace through the whole passage. Welcome, dearest, beloved Oline Bridges.
Hello, I'm Oline. I work as a full spectrum doula, so I like to say womb to tomb, and the full spectrum doula it's an interesting. It's kind of an umbrella, is what I like to think of it as, because it allows me to work with prenatals, postpartum, with the lovelies that are passing into the next realm. I enjoy hats. I wear lots of them. I make them, and I buy them, and I craft them, and I take ones that I've bought, beautiful hats, and I redo them to make them into something that I love. But that's life. Life is many different hats. And now in my end of life, I'm back around to the taking care of others and friends, taking care with, not taking care of. I have to correct myself, because what I'm finding with humanity is we need each other, but we also need to come home to ourselves. And so I found that after working and wearing all these different hats, I still had this root foundation of deep care, deep empathy for others suffering, and a deep passion for spreading kindness and love.
So with Oline Bridges here today, we're talking about birth and death. And because Oline is a birth doula, I'm going to ask Oline to just dive a little bit deeper into what does it mean to be a birth doula? What is this process? What is it?
It's an offering of love and care. And what's happened over time is we haven't had the support. The support has kind of gone down for our moms, for our families, the new families coming in. And a lot of times when people are pregnant, they're quite young now. Well, in my mind, they're young now. I was young as well.
Yes.
But I was very fortunate. I had a circle of care around me. And so it wasn't called, like, we didn't call them doulas, but I had that circle of care, that circle of love, that feminine energy that was supporting me throughout. And I'm so blessed and thankful for that. My mom and the church family of my dad, he's a minister, and so we have a very nice church family, and they just supported me. And that was my introduction to what a job for a doula is. And then the postpartum care is so dear and near to my heart, because here's this new family that's just birthed. It's not just a birthing of a child, it's the birthing of a mother, it's a birthing of a father, but it's also a birthing of a family unit.
Yes, yes.
And so you have all these births happening, but you also have all these deaths at the same time happening. So it's the death of what used to be. And so when that baby's born, our first cry is the cry of grief, because that baby's going through a death as well. The death of the womb, the death of being in this wonderful, warm bowl of water,
Being held.
being held all the time. And then all of a sudden they hit gravity. And the room is cold. No matter how warm we make the room, it's still colder. And so that baby's cry of grief, and then everyone around, they're waiting for this baby to arrive. It's the cry of joy.
You know, and you said something there that really triggered me, because it's the deaths of all the other personalities as well. The young father, or if he's young in this
Yes.
case, of who he was before he had to step into his fatherhood, his
Yes.
manhood. The young mother, who she was before, now that's no longer true, right? And this baby, this fetus, this new being steps in. And I don't think we've, as society, given that much thought. Like, what is life? What is death? What is the process of that? Right? When we're thinking about the
Exactly.
processes, I don't think we also give ourselves enough credit for the fact that we've endured things like postpartum. It's a real thing.
Absolutely. And I believe it's something that needs to be tended to throughout. Once you have a journey, if you're holding the baby or you're not holding the baby after that journey, if the baby arrives sleeping, you're still in postpartum. If you start a fertility journey and you're not holding a baby at the end, you're still in postpartum. And so honoring that journey, honoring the hormones that have shifted and changed. And I firmly believe that if we tend to that and tend to, like, that soft animal of our body, then we're tending to the mothers, we're tending to that mother wound. And then our babies will have a little bit more of a solid, maybe a gentler, maybe a little bit more gentle arrival.
And I like how you said, I'm going to back up a bit, when you said that you had this group of women, you had this, you know, I can't remember the word you used exactly, but basically this gathering of women to help you bring your child into the world. And that's something that we have lost along the way of society and humanity,
Yes.
that we have forgotten to show up for each other. In fact, I don't know if we've forgotten, some of us haven't been shown how, right? We haven't been shown the importance of showing up for each other and holding that space and welcoming in these people and doing this kind of gathering together. I think that's something we're missing.
Oh, 100%. But we're not completely missing, because it is out there, it is available, but we have to search for it now. And I would love to see us go back to the traditions.
Me too.
Like, I took my mom with me to some of my postpartum things, like postpartum care appointments. And it was so beautiful. There was one that we went to, and the midwife was there, and the lactation consultant was there. I was there, and then my mom was there. And so after we tend to the baby, my mom was holding the baby. My mom actually was speaking with the father and the mom and encouraging. And so to have all generations there supporting when we left, my mom looked at me and she says, this is how it used to be.
Your mom's the best. And
She
she's a
really
prime
is.
example of what it means to show up for people.
She was my postpartum and my doula through the whole thing.
So is that what inspired you to start exploring this as a career? Why did you start this journey?
Um, that's a very deep question. I believe that I've been on this journey from a young age. Like as long as I can remember. I always babysat.
Okay.
I babysat in my dad's church. But preacher's daughters, that's what they do. And so I always but I love the babies. And I remember going to specific ladies' houses after they had their babies. And I mean, one time, I think I was 9 years old, the first one, and the baby was 3 weeks old. And I just was there just helping the mom and spending time with the baby because it's hard. She had 3 kids and this was her last baby. And so the postpartum was very strong. And my mom and dad, they would just have one of us girls. I have 2 other sisters and older than me, but they would have one of us girls go and be with the mom, or we go and clean their home, because a clean home in a house with a newborn, if it's not done by someone else, that mom is doing too much.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's really important because I think, we're talking about this importance of these relationships, these gatherings, these women showing up for each other, helping nurture all of these changes. I think that that's something I personally believe that we're going back to. We're creating those old ways, and everything is cyclical. Everything kind of goes in cycles, but I am delighted to see these old ways. I don't even want to call them old ways because they should be current ways, but they feel like old ways to me.
I feel like they're forgotten.
Forgotten ways. I like that. Forgotten ways are coming back because we're remembering them.
Remembering. And the other thing is, when you go into a hospital to birth, it's clinical. It's cold. They have lights everywhere.
Darn those lights.
Lights everywhere. Birthing is supposed to be feral. Like, look at the animals.
Yeah.
They go and they find a cave and they bear down, and that's what they do. And they do what they need to, but they're in a cave.
So are you saying that when you're working as a doula, you're doing home births, or do you go to the hospital?
If we had a midwife here, I would attend home births for sure.
Okay.
If I was asked to, I wouldn't just show up and be like, "Hey, you're having a baby."
You might.
I might. I love babies and mummies and daddies.
Yeah.
But in the hospital has been where I've been the most. And but I try to make it cave-like when I go in there. I want to get there before the mom does. So in the transition part, when it's okay, it's time to go to the hospital. I go to the hospital first, and the nurses in our hospital and our maternity ward are brilliant.
Great.
They absolutely, they just fill my soul.
I'm so happy to hear that.
I love it.
Yeah, good.
And they just come in and they let me do my thing. And I set up the room and I turned the lights down and put the salt lamps out and the amethyst, and just make it really feral, like as cave-like as possible. And then I bring my singing bowls for different, because as we're learning, frequencies are very, very effective for helping or disrupting the nervous system. So, and I've been very fortunate. My mom being an aromatherapist, she mixes oils and she mixes stuff for the birthing room specifically, and that has been a godsend. Like,
Yay, mama.
yeah, it's actually been really effective, the birthing oils that she makes. But the nurses and the doctors in the hospital here, they've allowed me to diffuse oils, and they've allowed me to just create the atmosphere for the mom, and they kind of disappear. They come in for the vitals and they come in for what they need. But
Is there music? Is it like,
yes,
yeah, okay,
yes,
this is
and I play
lovely.
my singing bowls. Sometimes I have my drum. It's it's a place to rest
And allow, I
and
feel.
allow.
Mhm.
And I did have one review saying if it wasn't for Alina's whale sounds, she wouldn't have gotten through. And bless her, because sometimes it's really hard and embarrassing to make the noise that you need to vocal tone, to tone your pelvic bowl. And so if I make the noises really loud, then they might make a noise.
Right.
And they might get that feeling. And then once they notice that, that helps with the contractions. It just helps the body.
I think this is important because one of the things I was just discussing with my own husband was what women go through as women and their body changes, whether it be menopause or birthing and all of the
Yes.
things in between, that we kind of just normalized it all as normal, but it's actually very difficult. It's very painful sometimes, and it affects us our
Oh,
whole life. And I think that we need to not only learn more about it, but really begin to honor it.
the honoring. If there's anything I can put out there and invite us to do, is honor our womb space, and maybe say thank you.
I love that. That's the thing. I think that, life's been so busy. We're go, 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 go.
Mhm.
We've normalized so many things that are challenging, and we've
Yes.
also we've forgotten to tap into things that are very sacred and part of
Yes.
the life experience, right? We're living life. Have we taken a moment to contemplate how beautiful this stuff really is?
I cannot describe the beauty and the sacredness of walking into a room where there's a new life on its way earthside. It it is so beautiful. There's nothing that I can describe.
As you're speaking, it reminds me when we're at your place, you've shown me the things you've made to help with processes like this in terms of art and in terms of procedure, like as far as the womb bowls, all of those artistic things you've made. Tell me about a couple things that you've made that I think people would really appreciate.
When I first started with the birthing art, I don't know how else to explain it other than birthing art because one of the moms wanted a casting, and I used to do casting for, I would make like these, a friend taught me how to make dinosaur bones with casting materials, and it was poured casting, so it was a little different, but I learned that it was very simple to do casting. And so I had a mom, she was just so beautiful, and she's having an only child. And so I cast her belly, and then I took it to my mom and dad's house. And this one is so close to my heart. I took it to my mom and dad's house when it was still porous and I hadn't finished it. And my mom and dad, when people aren't well, they take a hanky, or if people are needing support, they take a hanky and they anoint it with oil, and then they pray over it. And if it's for somebody in their church or somebody that is in the hospital that can't come, they have the church gather around and they pray for this hanky, and it's anointed with oil. And so I had my mom and dad do that. And so now I call them blessing nests. And so they anointed it and prayed for it. I did it while it was still porous. So the placebo in my mind says it's going to all go in and be like such the juju.
Of course.
And out of the blue, I posted that I needed some sheepskin. And there was somebody that doesn't sell sheepskin anymore. He has a sheep farm out on the old Edmonton Highway. And because of what it was for, he gave me some sheepskin. And so I built this little blessings nest, and it was the shape of her body right when she was 9 months. So she was in, I don't remember if she was in labor, but there was cracks in the nest where the baby was kicking. And so it's built up a little bit. And then I made it, I painted it, and I looked outside on the day she was born, and it was a very cloudy, stormy day. So I kind of tried to depict that.
Mm-hmm.
And I put some jewels on it, some specific ones that are like some crystals that are gentle for
And when it's
babies.
done, does the baby lay in it, or do they hang it on the wall? What do they do with this
Okay,
thing?
so I took it over, and she had me put her baby inside of it. As soon as I did, that baby curled up exactly how it was in the womb and went to sleep.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it. It was
That's
so
unbelievable.
cool.
Wow.
And the mom and I were just like, oh. And so, of course, they don't last very long where they can, but she would rest in there.
Wow.
And now, because I put strings up and I made it so she could hang it. So now she could put her teddy bears in it.
Oh, that's so cute.
Or whatever.
That's great, because I know that you're such an artist and you take everything, all the things in life that you know that you experience, and they inspire you to create art. So you're always making art. You're making this, you have a full art room. I've been there. You might still be there sometimes, right?
That's why I have nieces and nephews.
Yeah. So I think this whole process with, birth doula, if we could remember that, how does somebody find a birth doula? What do we do?
That's a good question. You can Google it, but in small towns, are they going to be online? I'm not really online. If you Google doulas in Dawson Creek, I don't know if you would find my name.
Okay.
Because I'm word of mouth.
Right. And that's a really important connection relationship we have to have with an experience like that, right? Like we're letting somebody in to our womb space, to our private world, but at the same token, that person is our hands.
You're literally naked in front of your doula.
Right.
In all aspects.
So do you build a relationship with these people well before this event?
That is the idea.
Okay. Okay, but sometimes maybe not necessarily possible.
There was one in particular that wasn't possible because it was kind of like an emergency hire.
Okay.
And then during COVID, I got called to the hospital, and I wasn't even given the family's name.
Wow.
And
wow.
I can't remember what they had.
Oh,
because it was so fast. And I didn't know the people. And the dad had to go and take care of the 2-year-old. The mom was alone in the hospital birthing, and you can't have anybody in the hospital with you unless it was the partner only.
Right.
But a doula was considered essential. So thankful.
Yes.
Because these women don't need to be alone.
No, I can't imagine.
And I was really thankful to be called there. Because, and that was one that
you knew that's what you're here to do.
Yeah.
I get the feeling.
Because the dad left, and then when the dad came back, sometimes dads have panic moments.
Sure.
And they
do, a lot going on.
Yeah, and they do odd things.
Sure.
And so if they do stuff behavioral wise, then a doula is there to kind of help mediate and help.
And I think that's the other thing is I was talking earlier about giving the moms this support and this understanding, but We need to do that for the dads as well.
So this is it. A lot of times, I'm there to help the dad feel useful and know what to do.
Help the dad, help the mom, essentially,
Yes,
right?
because they don't know what to do.
But why should they?
Who knows what to do?
Yeah.
I've had like moms come in as a support. I'm not going to say it, but I'm saying it. They're the worst.
Yes.
Because
they want to take over.
they want to make her feel better. They want to make the birthing person just get through it easy. There's no easy way. You're not going to do it easy. So you have tools to help kind of take the edge off. That's all you're going to do, really.
So this also brings me to my next question then. What is a death doula? You do both, right? You're a birth doula and a death doula. What is a death doula?
Well, to be honest, it's almost the same thing.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, okay.
You're there to hold space for all that's grieving. I was at the last one that I was at, the last grief part. I was there for the family. It was a maid situation. I'd never met the person. And he was waiting for maid. And it was happening the next day. And the family wanted me to come in to comfort him. At that point, he'd already made his peace.
Wow.
The family hadn't made their peace. And so...
Because they might have been having, moments of guilt,
absolutely.
Misunderstandings. Who knows what wasn't resolved, right?
Well,
what happens?
Yeah, and there's lots of suggestions on how to get better to the person lying on the bed.
Wow.
And so as the doula, I'm kind of the mediator for that, to try to ease the conversations.
Okay.
Of, you're going to get better.
Right.
But then other times it's not like that. And I'm there just to, sometimes people just want their feet held.
And why would you say their feet? What does their feet have to do with that?
Grounding.
Okay.
And
what does grounding mean? What does grounding mean? Go in a little deeper for me there.
Have you ever had the feeling that you're just like, oh, this is so, everything's so
all the time.
Yeah, okay. So sometimes we just don't know where our feet are, metaphorically and physically. And being unwell, there's different things that could be happening, especially if you've been bedridden, or like you could have neuropathy, you could have, and so your spatial awareness is different when you don't have full, if nobody has touched your feet for a long time, or if you haven't touched the ground for a long time.
I don't think we think about the importance of that and how powerful that is, and being connected to life and earth and our reality. Sometimes we disconnect in the mind and in the soul because we are, we're done with it. And maybe, when someone's ready to cross over, they must have a lot of those different thoughts and experiences. Are they here? Are they there? Or do they know they're in between? What happens?
It's like there's a veil that thins, and sometimes not all the time, but sometimes there's just a peace. The end of life care is so beautiful. It's peaceful.
Is it common? Do people do this often?
No, not. Well, in my experience, I can't say yes or no, but in my experience, it's more the family that's needing the grief support. And if the patient has a relationship with me before, then yes, they do want healing touch, angelic Reiki, a little bit of fascia. So I do a treatment called COAT.
Okay.
And it's called Course of Applied Tensegrity. So it's working with the body. And I enjoy it because it's like an invitation to just come to balance.
I just know you so well, so I could already just feel this all happening. So here's the thing. We're talking about birth doula, death doula, the journeys of life and death for people coming and going. And of course, we can't speak on their behalf. There's all types of versions of these stories, right? But somehow you're doing what I call a soul signature. You're a humanitarian. You love people. Everything. You're a dear friend of mine. I know you so well.
I love you.
And you love people. You love people.
I love this lady.
And you've dedicated your life to caring for other people. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work you do, because it matters and it makes a difference to the world that we live in.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, I'm going to cry too. But you know what? It's true. If we take a minute and really think about our contributions to our fellow people, our community, there are people that make a big difference, and you are one of them.
I believe in this circle of care. And we're mirrors.
And we're friends.
And we're friends.
I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. Which brings me to another moment.
Like,
oh my gosh.
God.
Yeah, but this is the reality, right?
Tears are so beautiful.
They are. And if we were taught about birth, if we were taught about death, if we were taught about tears,
break that box open.
Yes, and learned about our feelings and our emotions, and allowed them, right? Allowed
the mess.
Allow it. It's part of it. It's part of the beautiful exploration of being a human. And
see my paintings, they're all a mess.
I've seen them all. They're fabulous. They're fabulous.
But they're a mess.
Yeah.
They're beautiful disasters.
Oh, and that's actually a really great title. Yeah, beautiful disasters.
Yeah, it's life.
I like that. Oline Bridges, beautiful disasters.
My boyfriend got me a shirt years ago that said beautiful disaster.
Oh, I love that. If that's not romantic, I don't know what is. So here we are, and I want to go on to the next stage of this conversation, which I know you know is going to be a little bit more touching and deeper.
I'm here for it.
So, Oline, you have been on your very own journey of exploring the difference between life and death for other people, but now you're on a journey of your own. You've recently received a diagnosis. I guess it's not that recent. Do you want to tell us, what have you been diagnosed with, and how is this journey going for you?
There's quite a few diagnoses.
Okay, tell us more.
Wow. This is a big one.
Thank you for taking the time to be here with us, because you're probably the only person I know that would give so much of themselves. And in this conversation that we're going to have, I think it's going to teach a lot of us about trusting our bodies, trusting our heart, trusting our insight, and trusting the disastrous process. Thank you. I needed that word, because it is a process, but it is also life.
It is. Dying is living.
And living sometimes feels like dying.
It does. This cloth right here.
Oh.
This is my tear cloth today. This is my rebozo that I take. It's one of the main ones that I take because it's long.
Okay.
So it's 9 feet, and it's a cloth of holding. And this has been with me through many, many difficult and many beautiful sacred moments. And it's caught many tears. It's catching them again. But it's held newborns, it's held mamas, and it's held the feet of people passing.
And it's holding you.
And it's holding me. And my diagnosis, the first diagnosis was excuse my speech, Cushing's disease. And that is a tumor in the pituitary gland. And so that was the original diagnosis. They did a brain surgery 2 years ago today. And the brain surgery was a test to see if I was operable. And turns out I'm not. And then they found tumors in the adrenal glands as well. So that's Cushing's syndrome, which they're too not operable. And since all of this, so part of what Cushing's does is it grows tumors in the body. So I'm a garden.
I love your positivity.
I'm a garden. And so that was the diagnosis 2 years ago. And then as time has gone on, there's cortisol damage. So part of what my condition does is it creates cortisol. And the cortisol doesn't shut off. So it's ACTH that's released from the pituitary. And then it activates the cortisol. And then there's another hormone that should be activated when you don't need that cortisol anymore. And that should turn off the ACTH. Well, that doesn't happen. And so then it's just a constant stream of cortisol running through my body. And so my vocals, I used to sing a lot.
The most beautiful singer. Oh, yes.
I've changed tones.
Oh,
I've lost about 3 notes
wow.
in my range.
Air, my breath, and fire, my spirit, earth, my body, water, my blood. Air, my breath, and fire, my spirit, oh. My body, fire, my blood. Air, my breath, and fire, my...
And so I'm relearning how to sing. And there's many symptoms like bronchial thickening from the cortisol, but there's different things going on with the bones. So scoliosis that I never had before, degenerative disc disease throughout my spine where the scoliosis isn't. And neuropathy and all the great things that go along with it. But what doesn't go along with it is who I am.
This I know, my friend. Okay, I know this.
And I don't believe in being defined by this. Doesn't mean I do wise things all the time that are conducive to a body that's handicapped. No, it doesn't. Sometimes I push the limits, but I get to decide to push the limits and the price I'm gonna pay for it. I get to choose. I love that.
Well, and that just is a friendly reminder to us all. There's consequences and gains for all of our choices. Every
everything.
choice
Yes,
has a reaction, consequential.
that's science.
Mhm.
That's science.
So then with this, how long ago were you diagnosed and what was your, what did they give you for an outlook?
The first outlook was they thought it was 18 months.
How many years ago was that?
3.
Okay.
Because that was before my diagnosis and that was what my blood looked like. And that's what my heart looked like.
But I remember you telling me approximately, I'm going to guess somewhere around 7 years ago when you had your very first situation, when you found your first tumor, that they had given you, it was a short timeline back then, 2-3 years or something like that. I thought I recalled you saying.
If I don't get it fixed or
Right.
whatever.
Now we're like 7 years later.
Yeah.
Because you keep breaking the rules like Oline.
Energizer Bunny.
but But I believe, I guess I have to ask you, why do you keep breaking these rules and keep extending these so-called timelines? And I don't believe in timelines, honestly. I believe that you are a healer. You're a healer for other people in all your various ways and modalities, but here
Oh,
you are doing it for yourself.
one thing I have to say, I hold space for others to facilitate their own healing.
Thank you. I accept that correction because that is exactly what it is.
Because in the holy book that I was raised with, which is the Bible, it says, healer, heal thyself. And so in my tradition, I think this is why my business is called Purple Door Tradition. This is one of the reasons why, is because tradition, going back to tradition, and that's going back to the circle of care. That's going back to being there while someone's going through their pain, not turning your head away from it because it's suffering, but actually seeing this suffering as just the beauty of the breaking so that you can put it back together. But when you put it back together, you have to use another medium. And so then you've grown.
But what's your advice to people who, a lot of people shy away from uncomfortable truths? They pretend they can't see it, they avoid because they don't know how to stand there and witness and be a
It's
part of it.
scary. I cannot tell you about the fear because there's no words to describe. But in that fear, I've found rest. And when you cry to the point where you're crying and you hit rock bottom, thank you for rock bottom. I have a place to rest. That rock bottom gives me that Kabbalah, if you're of the Eastern religions where you have that stone to rest your head on. That's that foundation. It strips everything away. And then you realize I'm held. You don't always know what you're holding on to, but you can hold on.
So when it comes to other people supporting you, what advice can you give to, say your friends or other people? What do you, not you personally need, but just speaking on behalf of people in similar situations, because I know you've experienced lots of different things from other people. How can other people help when they just don't know how to help? How can they help you? How can they help others? Often I'm guilty too. We sit on the side and like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do.
I'm guilty. And I'm in a situation like it's and not knowing what to do, but there's a thing called toxic positivity.
Okay.
And I remember actually, and it's not always perceived as toxic. It's perceived as love, coming from a place of love, of you're not going to die. You're going to get better. We're all going to die. So that's false right there.
Yes, yes, yes.
But being there and not trying to fix. We're raised to fix. We're born to fix. We want to fix all the things. Some things aren't fixable. And in that, acknowledging that, that's beautiful.
Wow. So instead of fixing something, maybe we can learn or relearn how to just be there.
I love your be real stuff because with my journey, it's all about just be. Because the things, and I deal with different sorts of death and bereavement on a daily basis in my own body. And so just be, and then learn to be thankful that there are adaptations and giving thanks. Once we give thanks, no matter what it's for, it's like a noxious weed.
This is true. It's vibration, it's frequency, it's, it catches on, right? But then what's your point of view between what is love and kindness versus false positivity? How can we differentiate? It's a big question because sometimes I can't tell the difference myself,
If somebody doesn't want to listen to your story, like if somebody isn't listening to my story, they'll start saying, "Oh, but you just gotta get through it. You know that it's gonna be fine. It's, you know what? We'll just pray about it." And yes, please, I love prayers. I love all of that. But don't tell me it's gonna be fine. You don't know that. Nobody knows that.
What is your view on the actual process of death? Have you been in the room when people have passed away?
Been in the room as they were going.
And what is your view on what is actually the process? I mean, we don't know, but I'm just asking, what do you think or believe it's like to leave this body?
I have an interesting experience personally. I don't know what it's like for others, but I was in surgery and I didn't hurt. I'm awake in most of my surgeries. They do subconscious sedation because of my condition. And so you can feel, but you can't feel, if that makes sense. It's like
you're aware, but you're not feeling it.
But you feel the pressure.
Mm.
And so I had to lay there very, very still and not move my eyes and not do anything, just because of how delicate the surgery was. It was in my pituitary gland. And I felt so held, and everything was just blank, and I could breathe, and it was peace. My body was in such a good place.
So that's just it.
And I don't know if I was dying, but then I all of a sudden was there again.
So that's just it. This show, People for Peace, is about finding pockets of peace in all of life and its mess and its realness. And if that moment for you was that ultimate state of peace, that's wonderful that you can experience that in such a, rough go. That's heavy.
Oh, that is my deepest spiritual experience was when I was 4. But that was my deepest, those 76 days.
And sometimes, when we're talking about life and all of the hard phases, we have to go through these dark, deep, dense densities, right?
Oh, yes.
You and I talk about this a lot. Life isn't all just glamour and smiles and fun. If we were taught that life is actually really hard sometimes, really difficult sometimes, we might flow a little more mindfully, and we might gather and we might share stories and help each other.
Well, that's the thing. If my experience can help you navigate something with a little bit more ease, have my experience known to you.
What is the one thing that you do to keep yourself centered and focused on basically living the best you can? What advice do you have for people who might be on a similar journey?
I don't really do one thing.
What can they do? People who need a guiding light, who need to start, sitting with these conversations, or even who might be in just a bit of a rut, who feel it's dark and heavy, and they need, are looking or seeking for some guiding light to get out of it. What do you do in your darkest moments?
I sit in stillness and I hold my heart, and a lot of times I'll cry until I can't cry anymore.
Do you witness and like
Yes.
on the dark thoughts? Do you play them over? Do you tell yourself new ones? What's the process?
A lot of times if I'm in that state of this is unfair, this is because we get into that where it's like, why me? All of those things. I'll play my drum, I'll play my singing bowls to take me to a place of gratitude that I'm still here. Find something grounding, like going outside and touching the earth. My dog, like just knowing that she's my person.
She's your mini you.
Yeah.
She's Miss Freya. Yeah.
But just another thing I'll do now, not everyone is capable, but I'll go in my kitchen and I'll start creating food for the ones I love. And so when I'm in my deepest, darkest despair, a lot of times I try to find a way to give love and to just be love.
Yes, and that's amazing. And I think that would work for all of us on a just grumpy day. You are the epitome of love. You demonstrate it in your own darkest hours for others.
Oh, I have grumpies.
I know you do, but what you give, you receive, right?
Absolutely.
And what you cultivate grows more. So what I'm trying to say here is that if we all took this teaching and applied it to our life, we'd all have better relationships. We'd all have these, abilities to create new realities, whether we're, crossing over, building businesses, whatever we're doing, if we were more mindful about the energies that we're cultivating, the thoughts we're cultivating. And I think myself, when I've had dark, deep, heavy thoughts, I've had them and they can turn into anger, they can turn into, whatever. But what I've tended to do is I tend to witness them. I really try to become a witness, like I am angry.
Yes,
that's
the
really
watcher.
upsetting. But then I also recognize I'm a human and I'm supposed to have those emotions to a certain degree. But then I need to take responsibility after a little bit of pouting or whatever to start cultivating and going, I can choose misery or I can choose love.
Yes.
I can choose grumpy, I can choose peace.
Exactly.
And you have to consciously work through that with practices like grounding, baking, loving.
Becoming the watcher.
Becoming the watcher.
Seeing your thoughts. As imagining you're by a river and the leaves are falling, running through the river, and just seeing your thoughts on those leaves floating away. You can catch it if you want. Take a look at it.
Because you can change your thoughts. It's a choice.
I have one teacher. I just adore her. Bless her soul. I'm saying prayers for her right now. She's not feeling well. Aww. She has passed along some wisdom that meditation is training the mind to think the thoughts that you want to think and not to think the thoughts that you don't want to think.
Wow. Amazing. And that's
What
just
is
it,
that?
right? We are both meditators, and that's just it. The thoughts we think are choices. Totally. And sometimes they're just bad habits, right?
And sometimes it's just the brain doing its job. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a weenie.
If we want more peace within ourselves, we need to start contemplating, sitting with ourselves, observing ourselves, witnessing ourselves, and then contemplating, is this in alignment for me? Is this the best decision?
And acknowledging our own crap.
Bingo. That's like the red flag moment.
Yeah, because
it's true.
If we can't acknowledge our own crap, guess what? We're not going to be able to sit with ourselves.
That's right. And we can't change anything unless we start to admit to ourselves. And that's what I call the ego. In fact, we'll close the session with a little short topic.
How many egos?
Yeah. In the first episode, I brought up the topic of ego because I feel often guided that the ego is our very first step. Most people don't understand ego, don't know about ego, haven't learned about ego. What does ego mean to you?
It's not a negative.
No, it's not.
No, and we need ego.
Tell us more.
Ego is part of our drive to get up and go, to get things done.
When is it healthy versus unhealthy?
When it becomes pompous, self-important, stepping on others to get ahead. Giving yourself accolades all the time. Guess what I did?
Could be jealousy.
Jealousy, envy, all of these things. But there's also spiritual ego. It's like, oh,
Yes.
I am so holy.
Yeah, and that's a conversation we could go on for hours.
Yeah,
but when does it help us, the ego?
When we're completely broken.
And how is that a benefit?
There's always a little bit of ego there.
It's a protector, right?
It's a
protects
protector.
us.
So if we're completely broken and someone, whatever happens, and we don't have that ego as a shield, we might become more than broken.
I think that's a great definition, description. So over these episodes, we're talking to people about ego, essence, life, death, practices to help each other and each person find pathways to peace. People for Peace is a theory and a philosophy that we can't have external peace on the outside unless we have internal peace on the inside. And sometimes those journeys are more difficult or challenging at different periods for different people. I mean, we all have our own difficult things and they all are in different timelines, right? But in this case, Oline, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your story and your teachings with us. And for me, what I really take away is the philosophy and the ideology that we need to redevelop community. We
Circle
need
of care.
Remember to show up for each other. And I've been noticing the funerals I've been attending, and unfortunately I feel like I've been attending a lot of them.
Yes.
They're full again.
Yes.
The rooms are full, the people are showing up, it's happening again. But what I think I'd like to tail off of that is to show up more often before the funeral.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes, it's like
yes.
We show up for the dying, but do we show up for the living? Are there any last words, comments, or questions?
Thank you.
How can people find you? Are you open to emails?
Yeah, absolutely. olinabridges@mac.com.
Perfect.
And I'm on Facebook under Olina Marie. That's
Great.
my middle name.
All right. Thank you so much and sharing your story. It was
just bringing back that circle of care. That's my hope. That's my prayer. Now, one thing about the peace and how to cultivate peace, this just came to me really quickly. I'll share it.
Go for it.
Sometimes if we can't find peace inside, no matter what we do, it just doesn't happen. We're in turmoil. So the practice of going to the external world, sometimes just going through the motions of lighting a candle, setting the space, doing things that you know that you would enjoy in a peaceful moment.
Like staging your peaceful moment.
Staging your having a mineral soak in the tub or something, but doing things with intention on the outside and then sitting with that and finding your breath and just sitting with your breath instead of sitting with your turmoil.
That's brilliant, because our last episode, the lovely Tanya talked all about breath.
I love it.
And tuning into the breath and using that. So thank you for mentioning that, because I think that's an important component, that the breath isn't something we forget. We need to tap into it daily, mindfully, and remember how to use such a simple God-given gift.
And it's powerful. Our breath is our life. It's the first gift that we're given when we're born. And it's the last thing that we offer as we pass.
Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of People for Peace.
Thank you.